Have you ever noticed that some of the things that you care about the most, like raising kids or trying to fix your health by eating better or trying to develop a skill or a career or working your way up to racing in a marathon or trying to fix your health by eating better, usually feel like you're putting in more than you get out? But what if that imbalance is exactly what leads to something bigger? So the other day I called my 3-year-old daughter and she told me very directly that she didn't want to talk to me, that she would call me the next day. Now, that felt bittersweet, but it got me thinking about how my parents have done a lot for me. They've invested a lot, and from the outside looking in, it doesn't feel like they've ever expected anything in return from me. And it got me wondering about why that is. And another situation also that happened a few months back, I was talking to a friend, and she's a business owner who had an employee that she's taught for over 5 years leave abruptly and moved on with her life to do other things. It rubbed her the wrong way because of how much she'd invested in time and money and effort in that relationship and this employee. But when push came to shove, the employee left to pursue other things without thinking twice. And these two scenarios got me thinking about reciprocity and how we expect a payoff from the things that we do. The issue, though, is that there's different kinds of payoff that I think if we understood and accepted, I think we usually understand these two, but we rarely accept them because one is measurable and the other one is not. And so I'm talking about the transactional payoff, transactional reciprocity versus transformational reciprocity, which is the long-term payoff that you can't really measure, because the transformation that you get from some of the things that you do is going to take years before you can get a visible outcome that is measurable and that you can even recognize, right? But the transactional reciprocity, the transactional payoff, is something that you can see and measure. So it's a salary, it's the time that you've spent doing something or the effort that you think you put in. These are all things that feel measurable, and you can find yourself getting angry even if you feel like you're doing more than you're getting, maybe to help someone or at a job. And I feel like there's a danger there, because with transactional payoffs, because they're measurable, they usually tend to be linear. They usually tend to be direct. So you can measure them one for one. And the transactional payoffs are not measurable one for one. And so because of that, they usually end up acting as a filter for those who last in this thing. So if it's this job, the transformational payoff that one gets by who they become while doing the job over the course of 10 years to develop a career worth looking back at and being proud of, it's a filter because most people will leave. And because most people will leave before they get to that 10-year mark, right? It filters out all of them. And so for those who remain for that long, the outcome or the payoff is asymmetric simply because of just how many people are left. If the reward was finite and it was to be divided by the number of people who were still participating at that point in time, then maybe each one would get less based on the number of people who were expecting to be rewarded. But because there's only a few and there's only one or two people who decided to write it out in that business or in that career or raising those kids, that payout that you get eventually is outsized, because you tend to be one of very few people that manage to do it for that long. And think of a marathon and how in the beginning it's all effort, and maybe the marathon is going to be in 8 months or 1 year, and you don't know if you're going to succeed at crossing the finish line, let alone winning, or losing weight. It will take you 1 year or more to get to the target weight that you want, and it will be painful for a very long time before you can get to the weight that you want to get to or cross the finish line on that marathon. But in the end, the outcome is incredible. But if you focused on getting that outcome in a measurable time frame, then you would not be able to last long enough to get to a point where you manage to succeed in attaining that goal. And at work, you want fair pay. That's transactional. But the big leaps and the better opportunities and the promotions, those all come after steady effort over a long period of time, and that's transformational. And so we usually tend to focus on transactional rewards and almost have the transformations as an afterthought, even though those tend to be more meaningful in the long run. And so whenever you feel like you're getting less than you're putting in at work, in your relationships, in parenting, before you try to optimize to get exactly what you're putting in, try to ask yourself whether there's a big enough transformational reward or payoff that's asymmetric enough to keep you playing the game and to keep you interested and to keep you doing this thing, knowing that one day you'll reap the rewards, and more often than not, you'll not know how long that will take or how big or small that will be, but eventually it will be worth it. See you on the next one. Bye.